I was told by 2 states and 3 counties that I am unemployable because of my disability. Quote from one person in particular, by my assessment, Nick, I'm looking at you in the world of work, and there is, quote, nothing you can offer an employer. And those words have really stuck with me. They were said to me in 2021, and we are now in 2025, almost in 2026. They still sting as much as they did the first day I heard them. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this brand new episode of the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I am your ever so handsome host, Nicolas Comstock. You guys, I am so glad that you joined me on this Tuesday. I have a great show for you today. I don't have a guest, so you're stuck with yours truly, but I have something that I really want to share with you and something that's been on my heart for quite a while. And so I hope you'll stay tuned to hear my monologue. Before we get into the show today, though, I want to give a shout out to our wonderful sponsor, Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. Thank you so much, Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio, for sponsoring this episode. You guys, the holidays are coming up, and we all have an annoying Uncle Fred. And I can't think of a better way to prepare for your annoying Uncle Fred right before the holidays than to go get a massage at Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. Because if you get a massage before you have to go deal with your annoying Uncle Fred at the Thanksgiving table, who thinks that his politics are right and blah, 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 and yours are wrong, then your muscles are relaxed and you don't have to worry about getting in a fight with Uncle Fred at Thanksgiving because you took the step that you needed to take for yourself, which is to go to Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio and get your muscles relaxed, get that deep tissue that you know you needed, and Uncle Fred doesn't annoy you, and your family's happy because you didn't get in a fight. So do yourself a favor. Go get a massage at Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. And here's the great thing. Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio has said we will give Nick Speaks listeners and viewers 20% off their next visit if they use the promo code at checkout online, Speak Up. So use the promo code to get 20% off your next visit to Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. And do this now because your family doesn't want you and your annoying Uncle Fred to get in a fight. So keep the family happy. Go get your massage and get 20% off. Thank you, Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio, for sponsoring this episode. All right. Now that is the end of the announcements for now. I want to talk to you guys about something. You guys know that I am disabled. For those of you who don't know about me, I am 35 years old. I've been in a wheelchair my entire life. I have CMV, cytomegalovirus, which I just tell people now it's a part of the cerebral palsy family. I could not receive services from the state of Indiana at the time because, according to the state of Indiana, and I believe every state, if I'm wrong, correct me on that, but I believe every state You cannot receive services until you're 18. Now, I'm going to correct myself because I know that's not true. At least here in the state of Ohio, we do have early childhood intervention or something called like that, um, where they will take your child and your disabled child will get the services that they need. I know it varies state to state, but I could not get services that I needed from a very young age because my parents were told, guess what? You make too much money for Nick to get services. So Nick is going to have to wait until he's out on his own or 18 years of age to get services from the state. Plus, my mom did fill out waiver paperwork. Somehow the state lost the paperwork and I was on a waiting list forever. Never didn't get on a waiver until I was much older, like 21 or 22, and the state of Indiana, where I was, they just didn't have the services that I needed. So skip ahead several years. Back in 2015, my family and I were told by a case manager in Indiana that Ohio has tremendous benefits. So we made the move to Ohio, and Ohio is very unique in the benefits that they have. And I have been graciously blessed with great caregivers and all that. But it has not been without its challenges. And I will say, you guys, I don't feel like I fit in the disabled space. I'm very high functioning. What I like to say is I'm physically disabled, but mentally enabled, which means that my body is in a wheelchair, but my mind is not. And I don't think the system known as the disabled system, like the waivers and the programs that are available to me, were built for people like me. We're built for those that are high functioning and that are physically disabled but mentally enabled. And I say that because I've had such an issue finding a job, which I'm glad. I've had to carve my own path, and I'm glad that that's working out now. But I was told by 2 states and 3 counties that I am unemployable because of my disability. Quote from one person in particular, by my assessment, Nick, I'm looking at you in the world of work, and there is, quote, nothing you can offer an employer. And those words have really stuck with me. They were said to me in 2021, and we are now in 2025, almost in 2026. And those words still sting. They still sting as much as they did the first day I heard them. And I've never been able to get those words out of my head. Nick, I see nothing you can offer an employer. I feel like people who are severe mentally challenged, although I would never want to have those circumstances, have a way better advantage in the system than those who aren't severely mentally challenged. I've experienced neglect by caregivers in the past. And the state basically said, well, we can't process this as neglect because you were able to take care of this issue yourself, which the issue was a caregiver neglected to feed me all day because she was mad that I reported her for being verbally abusive. And the state of Ohio said, Well, because you were able to purchase your own food, we can't process it as neglect. Whereas if I um, was mentally challenged and somebody else had found out that I had not eaten all day, I feel like that would have gotten reported and something would have been done because I did not have the capability to get my own food. But can I ask a question? Why should that even have to matter? Um, I find it interesting. My states, and I'm sure every other state in the union, say they like self advocates. They want to hear what their consumers with disabilities are saying. They want to hear how we're feeling. Well, if those of us that are mentally enabled speak too much, then we are labeled difficult and we are all blacklisted in some way. I know this because I've experienced it. So I really feel like I don't fit in at all in the disabled system simply because I am not mentally challenged. The system was not built for me. And I really do believe that if I was, I'm not asking to be mentally challenged, that, the state could just check off their boxes and I could be a part of all their cookie cutter programs and I would be none the wiser. And it's really frustrating because I'm disabled. I should fit in the disabled system, but I certainly don't feel like it. I feel like me challenging the system all the time just makes them frustrated, and it obviously makes me frustrated. And it's made the system so frustrated that I've been tried to be kicked off of 2 programs by people who work in the state. In my opinion, tried to fraudulently kick me off of 2 programs. Now, I took both of these issues to state hearings. One state hearing I won. It was on a totally different program. Got a state senator involved, and he said, "Whoa, you can't do that." The other one I didn't win because the county that I was in at the time had the privilege of choosing the hearing officer. And the hearing officer got up and said, I have no idea. I don't have any idea about the IDD field. So this is completely new for me. So the county right there had an advantage. And I lost that state hearing. Shortly after I lost that, I was appointed a new case manager. And this case manager has told me in the past, who, by the way, is still working for me and listens to this podcast. This case manager has told me in the past that I was put on his caseload because I was labeled difficult. And so they were like, Nick knows what he wants and he will do whatever he has to get it, which is true. I will call upper people if I have to, and I'm not afraid to do that. But there again, I think that puts me in a disadvantage because the people that are in the system want to just check a box and want me just to be a cookie cutter. And I refuse. But if it sounds like I'm crying on this podcast, I'm really not. I'm just in a lot of pain today, so that's why you're hearing me struggle. But yeah, I just sometimes as a self advocate that is really for myself and not for the state. I feel like a lot of the self advocates that the state calls self advocates, I feel like they train these self advocates to advocate for the state more than for themselves so that the state can keep them as much money that they can keep in their pocket while still telling the self advocate that they're advocating for themselves. You know, it's a basically you scratch my back, I scratch yours. We'll scratch each other and have a kumbaya moment. And I'm not interested in having a kumbaya moment. I'm interested in real, authentic change. And unfortunately, I think my state of Ohio is not interested in real, authentic change. To be honest with you, I don't know if any state of the union is interested in real, authentic change when it comes to disability services. Why? Because they've been doing this the same way for 40 years. Who the hell does someone like Nick Comstock think he is coming in upsetting the old apple cart? And it's really caused me to think about leaving the disability community space, the disability advocacy space, I mean, altogether, because I feel if I advocate too much and push too hard, that the state's gonna figure out a way to kick me off their system altogether. I mean, let's be honest. I've had two different programs try twice. Um, well, I've had two different programs try one each. And actually, the second program that wanted, they didn't want to kick me off their system. They just wanted to cut my funding from a range 9 to a range 4 because they didn't want to pay the rent subsidy plus 24-hour care. And range 9 means that I have up to $500,000 to spend on my services. And everybody's famous line that I've said on here before, Nick, just because you get $500,000 doesn't mean you get to spend $500,000. I understand that. And I understand that we have to be fiscally responsible. But you know, it's funny. These people that are in these local governments trying to keep us fiscally responsible from going over budget are probably not even really fiscally responsible in their own personal budget. Anyway, that's another story for another day. But the push to say, I deserve these services, and this is why, and it's not a luxury. It gets old. Because if you're a true self advocate, like I believe I am, there's a constant target on your back. You're told that you're arrogant. You're told that you're asking for too much. I had somebody that I respect approach me a couple years back and said, you know, Nick, this certain organization wants to call you in to speak, but they won't do it because they think you're too arrogant. And honestly, I don't have an arrogant bone in my body. I don't think I'm better than the next person. And so that really made me take a step back and say, is this really arrogance, or is this really because I'm fighting for what everybody else deserves to have, but they can't speak up and say it, so I'm saying it for them also on my behalf. And I've talked to other friends before that are in the same boat that I am in, and they've said, and I've said, I don't want to be somebody's token. And they're like, well, I don't mind being in token once in a while as long as I get in the room. I'm not there just to get in the room. I'm there to get in the room and make lasting change. And I'm afraid that's what a lot of people don't want in our local and federal governments. They just want to keep doing the same thing that they've always done in the disabled community that has worked for them for 40 years, but it's not working for the people that they serve. And if the people that they serve speak up about it too much, then you're ungrateful. And we're going to try to figure out a way to make your life a living hell as much as possible. And so, I'd even thought of ending this podcast because I'm like, this is just, being an advocate all the time is annoying. And I really want to get into acting and TV and public speaking. And I don't want to be in the disabled space anymore, even though I'm kind of there, but I'm only there because I'm physically disabled. And I told this to one of my best friends who is actually my neighbor and will hopefully be on the podcast within the next couple months. I said, I think I'm going to end my podcast after 100 episodes. And he said, are you crazy? And he's actually going to become my agent. We're working on the final contract details. And she said, Nick, we need your voice. We need your voice. And so I will continue. I'm just sharing this with y'all to say that it is not easy being a physically disabled but mentally enabled person in the disabled system, because the people that work in the system just want you to be glad that you have the services that you have. Don't push for more than what, don't push for more, even though you probably deserve more, and just take what you get and be happy with it. And I'm one of those who refuse it. Or I refuse to take what I get and be happy with it. And to be honest with you, if I'm someone who gets $500,000 of taxpayer money, if I was a taxpayer, I would want all that money to go to serve that individual. And I know it's not just me that gets that amount of money. And I know we have to be fiscally responsible. But listen to me, states, counties, if you're going to approve somebody for $20,000 or $200,000 a year in services, no, you shouldn't go in the negative. But you shouldn't also be in the black at the end of the year. There should be a point of saying, okay, wow, we really used his funding this year because you got this, you got that, you got that, whatever it is. And this is what the taxpayers are paying for. But I'm just basically doing this episode today to sit here and say that I'm really going through it. I've really considered stopping this podcast, but don't worry, I'm not. It's just been tough because this world wasn't built for physically disabled but mentally enabled people. It was built for those people with disabilities who have severe mental disabilities. And the system that I'm in now, simply because I'm physically disabled, was really built for people that are in facilities and nursing homes. It wasn't built for people like me to live on their own with 24/7 staff. And I understand that, but I almost feel like there needs to be two separate systems. The system for the severely mentally challenged and physically disabled, and the system for those that are physically disabled but mentally enabled. You say, well, Nick, that's segregation. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we have segregation as it is. We have special ed classrooms just for those who are in special ed, and we still have to fight that. We have special ed, special classes in churches for those who have special needs that are not in the normal service with the adults. That's a type of segregation. If you're going to say that having two separate systems is some type of segregation, look all around you in the disabled community. And in some places, it's needed. A school for the blind is needed. A school for wheelchair users is needed. But we also need that integration as well. So how do we have these two separate systems and still provide inclusion? Because I really think that there needs to be a system for the severely mentally handicapped and a system for those who are not. Because the system where they're just putting all of us in one box isn't working, because people like me are falling through the cracks, and we have fallen through the cracks, and we don't feel that we fit in. And I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. This is why I'm speaking up, speaking out, speaking loud about it today, because it needs to change. And I don't know what we need to do to make it change. Yeah, actually, I do. We need to get the people out of the system that have been in it for 40 years and get some fresh blood in there. But some people in some counties in my state don't want to get the same people that have been in the system out for 40 years. They want to keep the same leadership in and do the same thing they've always done. Well, let me put it to you where you can understand it. You remember when you were a kid and your favorite food, I don't know, let's go on. Remember when you were a kid and your favorite food was mac and cheese? And that's all you wanted to eat? It wasn't my favorite food. I don't like mac and cheese. But say your favorite food is mac and cheese, and your parents told you can't eat mac and cheese for every meal because it's not good for you. Well, it's not good to have the same people in leadership for 40 years in the disability system doing the same thing just because it's working for them, because it's not working for everybody. So change needs to come. I'm just frustrated about how we're going to get it and how we're going to obtain it. I guess that's the same thing. So, yeah, and I'm struggling to figure out how I fit in my the disabled system here. When do I push? When do I not push? When do I advocate strongly? When do I not? Me, I would rather advocate all day and say, give me that whole $500,000. I'll, you know, find better caregivers, which I have excellent caregivers right now. So I don't want to do that. Um, you know, I'll go get all the medical equipment that I need. And why does all the medical equipment for people with disabilities cost so damn much? That's another thing I would want to, change. And that has nothing to do with, severely mentally handicapped versus not severely mentally handicapped. It's expensive for everybody. Um, whatever part of the disabled system you fall on. I mean, that's something else I would love to, change in the disabled system. But again, the insurance companies probably wouldn't like that change because then they wouldn't get all the bacon that they're used to getting. If if we figured out a way to lower the cost of things like portable Hoyer lifts or shower chairs or power chairs. Because the only reason my power chair costs $30,000, I'm telling you right now, is so that the insurance company could get their big piece of bacon. Because it's not like I can watch TV on the thing or take it off-roading. I have to have a totally different chair if I want to go off-roading, and it costs even more. But this chair that I'm sitting in right now is $30,000 or more. And my friend makes fun of me. I have a friend that makes fun of me. He goes, you have a $30,000 chair and you don't even have a cup holder attached to it. Like, cars have cup holders, but your chair does not. So he makes fun of me for that. But yeah, it's just, this is why I want to change the direction of my podcast a little bit. And you're going to see some changes because I want to change it, because I want to start having guests come on that really want to talk about the struggles that are happening in the disabled field. I don't want to have people on that are worried, well, if I say this, I'll lose my job. I want to have people on that are really wanting to initiate change. And let's talk about how we can do that. I had somebody email me this past week and say, Nick, I want to come on your podcast and talk about the issues in special education and the issues with agencies, all that type of stuff. And I'm like, yes, 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 yes. I had somebody else email me this week and say, Nick, I want to talk about the issues of people with disabilities getting sub minimum wage. And I'm like, yes, 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 yes. Because why is that a thing? Why are people with disabilities in 2025 still getting sub minimum wage? That's wrong. And I also will say, because I was at a conference this week, and I also will say that somebody said I told them that I was unemployable, that somebody in the state of Ohio told me I was unemployable. And they said, that's not true. Everyone's employable. Well, no, everyone is not. Everyone cannot go going into a workforce with crowded people. That doesn't work for everyone who is disabled. But if you're going to call a sheltered workshop work, if you're going to say, let's go to work today, let's shred paper at a paper shredder from 8 to 4, whatever it is, then pay them the normal wage that you would pay somebody who doesn't have a disability. And if it's not a work program, if it's a sheltered workshop and you don't want to pay them a decent wage, then definitely don't call it work. Because if you're in the workforce, no matter if you're disabled or not, you deserve to get a livable wage. And that includes those in sheltered workshops that go around calling it, oh, you're going to go to work today. You're going to go to day program, but we're going to call it work. Okay. So if you're going to call your day programs work, and if you're going to call your sheltered workshops work to make these mentally disabled people think that they're going to work, then you need to think about paying them a correct wage and stop this sub minimum wage crap. But yeah, I had somebody email me this past week and said, Nick, I want to talk about people with disabilities getting some minimum wage. So we'll be talking about that in the next couple of weeks. I really want to talk about the issues in the home health care system. So I think I've done a pretty good job hosting this podcast so far. That I've had it. 50 plus episodes over a year. And I do say so, if I do say so myself, I've done a pretty good damn job hosting this podcast. But I want to get to the speaking up, speaking out, and speaking loud portion of this podcast that I say every week, because no change will come to the disabled community if we do not do that. And we have to come to a resolve. We don't care who we tick off, whose money we take out of whose pocket. We don't care that we upset the special interest groups that fund these programs like Goodwill and others. We don't care. Okay. People with disabilities deserve to live life to the fullest, even if they're on a government program. But what I don't understand about my physically disabled but mentally enabled friends, you all freak out about, oh, I'm going to lose my Social Security. The politicians are going to take my Social Security and my Medicaid away. First of all, no, they're not. No politician on either side can wake up one day. Well, they can. They can wake up one day and say, okay, we're going to get rid of Social Security and Medicaid, but they can't do it. So stop saying, oh, Trump's going to institutionalize us all and Trump's going to take away our Social Security and Medicaid. He's not. Okay. Hell hath no fury. And if he were to try to do that, hell would have no fury. It would be taken to court and it would be shot down because we have so many socialist activists on the bench. So don't worry about it. I mean, honestly, but why are folks with disabilities worried about losing their Social Security and Medicaid, but you want to work? You want to work and keep your benefits. You can't have it both ways. Hey, I'm trying to get off of all my benefits and I will die trying, but I will tell you, I'm not going to die being on government benefits. I can say that. And now, of course, I can say that with my old chest, but tomorrow's promised to no one. I get that. But I tell you what, I'm going to try within the next year or two to get off all my government benefits, including my Medicaid, including my Social Security, including government housing, because it's all shoestring. It's all the way the government, disabled people, the government wants you to stay on their system so that they can control you. They don't want you to have a happy, fulfilling life. They want you to be on their system forever so that you can stay where they want you. They want you to have a need for them. And I don't want to have a need for the government. I don't want to need the government. That is why I'm doing everything I can within the next year or two to get off the system. That is why this podcast is here, to help me get off the system. Government, if you're listening, I haven't made any money off of it yet. I'm sure as hell trying, though. Just so you know. That's why I would want you guys to support this podcast in any way, shape, or form you can. Whether it's getting me speaking engagements, paid speaking engagements, or getting me television spots. You disabled folks, listen to me. You do not have to be on the government system. In the age of 2025, you do not have to be on the government system forever. You can work from home. You can use AI and make money. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to make money these days where you don't even have to leave your house. Now, I'm weird. I like to leave my house and be around people. Okay. Which I don't understand because I feel like a lot of people don't want to be around me. That's another episode. You say, Nick, you sound like you need to go see Dr. Phil. I do. So, Dr. Phil, if you're listening, hit me up. I need about an hour with you. Maybe you can give me a show on Merritt Street Media. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, it just is what it is. I'm convinced that the state governments only want self-advocates to improve their agendas, not to improve the agendas of the disabled individuals. And that is why I don't fit in this current disabled system, because I am going against the grain. And I know it. And I'm just here to say it's really hard, but I'm not going anywhere. You're not getting rid of me anytime soon. I'm telling you that right now. And thank you for letting me share my heart with you today on this Tuesday. Again, sorry if I sounded like I was out of breath or crying at one point. I'm not crying, although I am a crier though. I do the ugly cry quite a bit in private, but I'm not. I try not to do that on camera. I'm just in a lot of spastic pain today, so that's probably what you heard a lot of. Talking through my pain, getting through it. But anyway, I really hope that I really hope that sharing my heart with you guys doesn't backfire on me. If it does, I'm a big boy. I can take it. I really hope that this will initiate some conversations, and maybe it will initiate some change now that I'm speaking up, speaking out, and speaking loud about it. And if you're someone that works in the disabled system and you agree with me, you're one that wants to initiate change, but the people you work around don't want to help you initiate it, then reach out to me. Let's really start talking about the problems and coming up with solutions. Because I feel like we're yelling about the problems in the disabled community, but we're not really coming up with solutions. And one of the reasons why, probably the reason why we're not coming up with solutions, is we're afraid to upset the people who have been in power in the disabled system for 40 years, who, by the way, most of them are not disabled, and they probably don't even have a disabled family member. I shouldn't say most of them, a lot of them. Because that's so interesting. I wonder how many people who send out the denial letters for Medicaid are actually understand what it does to someone when you deny something they need from Medicaid, all because Medicaid doesn't deem it as a need or a necessity, but it really is a necessity. But they're going to send a denial letter anyway. I wonder if, the people that actually send out those denial letters have anything to do with the disabled system in general. Or is their job just to sit there and click the deny button and write out a cookie cutter letter? Like they have no idea what they're denying and who it's going to affect and all this type of stuff. And this is the type of stuff that the people in the disabled community, the parents, the physically disabled but mentally enabled folks need to stand up against and say, we either need two separate systems or make the system that we are all in work. And how do we do that? And we need to stop being so scared. And I'm preaching this to myself because I'm one of those who are scared. Because, like I've said, I've been blacklisted before. And I'm labeled as difficult because I'm so particular in what I do and what I need. And so, anyway, I hope me sharing my heart with you guys on this episode today really will spark a conversation. I will see you next Tuesday for an all new episode of Nick Speaks, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I'm your host, Nick Comstock, and I will see you again next Tuesday. Bye-bye.